We're good? Welcome, everybody. Happy to have you at the board meeting tonight. Happy to have all of us at the board meeting tonight. We'll call this meeting to order. Can we get approval of the agenda, please?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. John, can you lead us in the pledge, please?
You all please rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, John. Announcements and recognition. Mr. Mark has announcements. All right.
All right. I just moved on you, John, just to
Gotcha.
kind of trick
All right.
you up.
Don't worry. I'll keep track of you here.
We are proud of our graduates and invite the public to join us for this year's graduation ceremony on Saturday, June 7th at 10 a.m., weather permitting. We'll hold the graduation ceremony outdoors at Jacobson Field. In the event of inclement weather, we'll move the ceremony indoors to the Barkin Arena at the same time, 10 a.m. Videogenics will again tape this year's graduation. You can begin placing orders now by calling 754-8411. Videogenics will also take orders at the ceremony on the 7th. We are now looking forward to the recognition of our retiring staff. There will be an open house for them on Sunday, June 1st, 2 to 4 p.m. at the Beloit Country Club along Riverside Drive. The recognition part of the reception will begin at 3 p.m., and we invite our community to be part of the celebration of these treasured individuals. We also invite the public to attend the Celebration of Burge event scheduled for Sunday, June 8th, 1 to 4 p.m. with a short program to start at 3 p.m. Burge will be closed this year as we transition to our new intermediate school model on the west side. The last day of school this year is June 12th. This will be a regular full day of classes for our district students. Our high school students will go to class according to their exam schedules. We wish all our students, families, and staff a wonderful summer season. This concludes the May announcements.
Thank you, Mark. And we're all, so everybody that's watching and everybody here in this room are thinking positive thoughts in terms of weather and graduation, right? So cool breezes off the river, maybe in the 70s, nice sun, occasional cloud, no wet, no water. There's where we are, right? So we're all going to think positive. By the time the meeting's over, we'll all have it locked in. Next up will be our recognitions. Yes, ma'am. Welcome.
Well, the power of positive thinking does work. We were hoping for good weather for the Frusen groundbreaking, and we got it. So held off just long enough,
Right.
and we lucked out, so we can do it again. We have a few recognitions for everyone's enjoyment tonight. And for the first one, I'd like to ask Chuck Siles, our athletics director at Beloit Memorial High School, to help me with this one. Partnerships are important to provide the extras that make school not just a place to learn, but a place to grow and even for health and fitness. And it's those partnerships that help make those things possible. So for our first recognition, we'd like to ask Mark Santos to please join us at the podium.
I had pleasure of actually speaking with Mark at the Rock one night. I was having a burger. He was there with his family, and we were talking about the new fitness center, and he said, well, do you have any needs? Could you use any help? I said, oh, could we use help? So after talking to Mark, he generously agreed to donate some money towards purchase of new equipment. We have a need for about $43,000 in equipment, and Mark made a sizable donation. The only thing that he asked was, is this going to be used by everyone? And of course it is. And that was the caveat in getting Mark to generously donate to the project. So Mark Santos, again, so much is said about people that can go out of their way above and beyond. Obviously Mark is going above and beyond. He doesn't have to, but he wants to see our city, our kids prosper. So Mark Santos.
Not really.
Well, before you go.
Be shy.
Well, we really appreciate this a whole bunch, and I get to be the one to award this to you as a certificate of appreciation in recognition of caring for the wellness of students and our staff, with a generous gift of $5,000 to be used towards a new fitness center at Beloit Memorial High School. For that, we thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, just stay for the next one. I'm going to stay here. That's okay. And I'm going to ask Chuck Siles to step here for our next recognition. And our next guest is one that would even impress Superman. He's a hero in his own rights. So I'd like to ask Dr. Richard Ocelio to please join us at the podium.
Dr. Celio, as many of you know, he was actually coming to the high school to go to a Boost Club meeting for the baseball team. At the same time, the baseball team was having an open gym. And one of the young men that wanted to participate in baseball ran his warm-up lap. They were going to start throwing, and he collapsed. And there's a whole bunch of people that were important in this matter. Armand Cabrera, Coach Schmitz, Coach Raisbeck, a whole litany of people. But Dr. Celio got word that this situation was happening, broke away from where he was going, came down into the field house, and performed his magic. He saved a kid's life, performed CPR on him, used their AED, and the paramedics then came and took him away. But thanks to Dr. Ocelio, the young man is alive and well now. So you can't say enough about saving people's lives. So Dr. Ocelio, thank you very much.
I'm shy too, but this is just hot off the press. This is actually the Boyd Health Systems connection that is printed every quarter, I believe. And on page 9, I'd like the board members to read the events that occurred that day, and it's pretty darn accurate of all the events that occurred that day. You don't walk into a meeting expecting an emergency, but it sure is nice that you had CPR 2 weeks before that, and you're CPR trained. So now I'll be able to tell all my colleagues that when they complain about having to go to CPR training, that it sure is nice to have your reactions automatic. So you just do what is necessary and don't have to think about what you have to do next. Like Mr. Siles was saying, there's a lot of people that helped in that teamwork. The coaches, the players that came and got me because they knew who I was. They went and got Amy, my wife, who also is a Boyd Health System employee, and she helped make it a successful two-person CPR. I also like to thank the school board, because being a spouse of a former school board member, I know how much dedication, time, and commitment you give to our community and to our children. Thank you.
And I can't say this enough, but it's caring people like you and our coaches and all these people that gather together to keep our kids safe, and a child is alive because of you. So I'm honored to present this to you in recognition of heroism, there's simply no other word for it, in swiftly employing life-saving actions to rescue a student in distress. Thank you so much. For our next recognition, we have a group of forward-thinking, creative students, hard-working students that we'd like to recognize. So I'd like to ask the yearbook advisor, Jennifer Schmitz, and also one of our educators at the high school, along with her yearbook students, to all come down and join us at the podium. These students are so forward-thinking, they came up with a fantastic way to enjoy our yearbook even further. This is absolutely amazing. You're going to love it. So we're going to start with a short video to explain it.
click on this button right here, and then you find one of the pictures with the night head symbol by it, and you put it up close like this, and it'll play a video. And if you want to get out of the video, you double click it, and then you go on. Just like that.
This year we took on doing Erasma, and Erasma is a free app you can download on your device, whether you have an iPhone or an iPad or just an Android. And what that does is we have matched a picture in the yearbook to a video, and you'll take your device and put it on top of the picture that either has a nighthead on it, or we do have a document in there that has a list of all the seniors who also have done an interview, and it will play the interview for you. Also in our yearbook, it is full color, 144 pages. And hopefully next year we'll add on a couple more pages, and the goal through the years is to have a much thicker yearbook. So right now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to have my students come up to each of you, and I'm going to have them open a page, open up Erasma, and then actually show you physically how it works. Okay, just going to introduce my team for you. I have Megan, Alyssa, Hannah, Daniela, and Deja. We have many more in the classroom, but they kind of chicken out, so they don't like to appear in front of a lot of people. But what a great staff. We had returning members this year, which was awesome. Next year we have returning members, which is even more awesome because they know the software and they can help teach the new students the software also. And we've dabbled in Photoshop, and we're going to do a lot more Photoshop, so we're going to do more of our own backgrounds next year. So we're very, very excited for what's coming in the future.
Congratulations. Thank you. John?
I just wanted to add, I've got the cover here, if the camera can come my way. I want you to see the cover of this yearbook because it is absolutely dazzling. I don't have the camera coming my way, unfortunately. But so you'll have to see it in your imagination. There it is. All right, I want you to look at just the cover of this thing to get an idea of the richness of the color in this. Inside, there's all kinds of color photography. It's beautiful. This is a great yearbook. Thank you.
So these folks can certainly go to work for almost anybody in the community who wants to do this kind of work, right? There we go. Perfect.
Well, we have some certificates of appreciation. I know this was a huge project for all of you guys, and what a fantastic product. And to come up with that new feature and to show us all how to use it, absolutely amazing. So we have certificates in recognition of professionalism and leadership demonstrated during the production of the Beloit Memorial High School Yearbook, a district and community treasured keepsake. Do you have Deja? Thank you. Daniela? And Anne?
She's not here yet.
Okay. Hannah?
Thank you.
Megan? Okay, and I think we're missing one more.
That's okay.
Okay. And then we also have one for their advisor, because I know that she puts in just as much work as the kids, so we appreciate all of your work. Thank you so very much.
you.
All right.
And I have just one more quick announcement. We actually, I think this is Rebecca Charles's last business board meeting. So we would like to recognize you for all the hard work. Yep, you have to come down.
Yeah, you go up.
I know you are a very busy young lady. I've seen you in the night choir, and you're active in a lot of things at the high school, and yet you still found time to come here and help us kind of gain the perspective of the students and offer your input, which was extremely helpful and valuable. And I'd like to ask the board members to help share in this celebration of your work.
John, go ahead.
Well, I was really hoping, Rebecca, that you would wind up attending my alma mater, The Ohio State University. But apparently you're going to Pace instead. And Pace has got an outstanding program right in the heart of Manhattan. It's going to be very exciting for you. You've been great. You've been great in terms of sharing your enthusiasm with the board, for example, talking about the night choir. And your enthusiasm in part is what motivated Joanne and I to go to hear the night choir performance, which was just extraordinary. And so we really appreciate all you're doing in the high school. We appreciate the fact that you bring so much of the flavor of the high school back to us, and we thank you for that.
Cool. Michael?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for your service. It was good having you on our board as a representative, and definitely appreciate your candid, honest thoughts about things that students are talking about in the district, because that's the important part of that position. Where we're not students, so we look at things one way. Students look at things a completely different way, and whether we want to hear it or not, sometimes there are things that need to be shared, and I appreciate you doing that. So thank you.
Oh yes, Jen.
Rebecca, I got to first meet you when your parents and my husband and I were in baptism class, so I've known you a very long time. And because of that, and obviously my sons and you have grown up together, and I've seen you become that little girl in kindergarten to the young woman you are today. And where you've come from and where you've gone and where you're going is phenomenal. And your fortitude, and even since you were in elementary school, knowing what you wanted to do and where you wanted to be, it's changed a little bit, but it was always putting yourself out there first, taking risks and expressing who you are for who you are. And we don't have enough of that today, so thank you for all that you are. I'm so excited to see where you are going to go, and don't forget where you did come from, because we do, and I hope personally to hear exactly the great things that are going on and celebrate with you. Thank you.
All right.
I would just like to say, since I've been on the board, I think I've gone to every one of your theater productions that you were in, and it's just been a joy to see your talent develop. But especially this last year, some of the things that I've seen you in your leadership here and in your leadership on stage, the poise and the confidence that you have is very inspiring, and I just wish you the well in all that you do. Thank you.
I'll also add my wish for you to do well and do good, right? That's what a college president I know used to say, and I know that you will do that. And I hope that you do take your feisty spirit, because we need that, and we like that. It's a good Beloit thing, right? It's a good thing that we should be that all Beloiters should know. And so we hope that you take that, and we know you will, and wherever you end up, shake up the world to make that happen. So it'll be good. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you. And before you go, we have a certificate for you in professional service as a student representative for the Board of Education, but also a small token of appreciation.
Thank
A little
you.
bit for
Kisses.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel really bad because Jesse isn't here, so I feel like I just took all the attention. But he had to work tonight, and he wanted me to tell you guys thank you for everything you did for us this year. I really enjoyed my time here. Sometimes it's nice to be around adults instead of high schoolers all the time, and I always found it interesting when I was in government class and my teacher would talk about how meetings are run, and I knew that I got to experience that once a month, and I'm really into the government and political scene. I am my mother's daughter, as you all explained how feisty I was. But thank you all so much for giving me that experience, and thank you for everything you said. I wasn't expecting any of that, so thank you guys.
So please share a little bit of that with Jesse.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Santos and Dr. Roselio and family. Thank you. It's nice to see you. And thank you to the yearbook staff. Wonderful job. Awesome. With that, we are at a point where citizens or delegations may come to the board and share their ideas with us. If there is someone who wishes to speak, now is the time to step forward. One more time. Anybody that wants to share some thoughts? Okay. We're open to that. I have a speech I have to read if you come, but that's not a big deal. It shouldn't stop you from showing up. And so we'll look forward to that perhaps next month. With that, we move on to Superintendent's report to the board. Mr. McNeil.
As usual, we have two of our outstanding schools going to report to you their progress and some of the good things happening. So from Converse, we have Principal Stephanie Jacobs.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Okay. All right, I'm going to be short and sweet. I'm going to just go through some of our points of pride that we've had this year. We've had another very successful year. We have whoops. All right, Miss Melissa.
Just click off. On this one.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay, I've got it. We have, for the third year in a row, been recognized for Wisconsin School of Recognition, keeping our fingers crossed for year 4. And because of that, we've been nominated for the Wisconsin DPI Spotlight School. And it's a grant initiative. It's very competitive. You have to be a Wisconsin School of Recognition for the last 3 years, at least. And the Spotlight schools are selected based on our documented success in 2 spotlighted areas, including teaching and learning, and we chose decision making and accountability, where we went into quite a bit of detail about our PLCs and how we use our data. And speaking of data, I would have loved to have shared our MAP data, which is quite promising. However, we just got done testing, and I don't have all the reports ready for you yet. Again, we've been nominated for the Spotlight School. What the program is designed for is really very interesting, and actually, after many hours of writing the grant, my staff and I decided that we would like to go visit one of the Spotlight schools, even if we are not nominated, because you get to have teams come to the school and look at different practices that are implemented that you can take back and use in your own building. So lots of cool ideas, and as I said, we're hoping for that, keeping our fingers crossed, and we should know any day now. They said sometime in June. Of course, we were fortunate enough to be the first building that was rededicated, and some of our esteemed guests, just some, we had many, we had a lot of great board members as well. We had Tony Evers, Tim Cullen, and Janice Ringhold. And because of our beautiful new building, we were able to welcome 4K, and we do have 4 4K classrooms at Converse, plus our kindergarten through 3rd. and a beautiful room for our self-contained CDS classroom. And we just had our spring sing, and you know how large that gym is. And in the past, we've had to split up grades, and we still are doing that, if you can believe such a thing. But we were so packed that we had to bring out even more chairs this time. And we had people standing on the sides, and Miss Brass once again did an outstanding job, and the students, of course, were phenomenal. But what a wonderful thing to see this beautiful brand new gym full, just absolutely packed with people. It was awesome. Just a few of our academics I wanted to spotlight. Of course, I've said the Wisconsin School of Rock, the third year in a row. We have 2 teachers that have teamed, I believe, for 2 years now, Val Johnson and Renita Garner, and they are doing an absolutely phenomenal job. They've looped with their classroom, and we're going to try something new. We're actually looping them again. So they're going to go to 3rd grade with their students. And they are using STEM daily. They're just outstanding at it. They've done an international collaboration through Skype. They've spoken to a classroom in Sri Lanka, as well as Italy. We have a number of 21st century learning, well, a number. All of our classrooms are 21st century learning classrooms. We're at different degrees in implementing the technology. The iPad initiative has been absolutely tremendous. I'm learning so much new, and the kids, it's simply phenomenal. It has put our school district way ahead of the game. It's absolutely incredible. We've done very well with our WKCE again. The preliminary report on our map looks very good. A lot of growth shown, especially at the kindergarten level. And we started something new this year with Big Buddies from the high school for a couple of our boys that are struggling either academic or with social endeavors. And they have been absolutely, Dr. Johnson, outstanding. It's been, I'd like to see that even extended further next year and get some female role models as well for our little ones. Okay, our community, of course my sheets are out of order. Community partnerships, we've had many. These are just a few: Junior Achievement, UW Extension Nutrition. We've had numerous dentist visits. We have continued our Adopt a Cup. We have senior volunteers, Cub Scouts, weekly pickleball teams. I think that's a Beloit thing. I had never heard of a pickleball team, but we have quite a few of them, which is wonderful because that was my hope too, and I know it was the school districts as well, that with these beautiful new gymnasiums that the community would be welcomed in and use it. So we have our pickleball teams come every Wednesday. We had HGTV interior designer Kevin Grace visit, as well as industrial designer Josh Wood from Copernicus, and they were also in Garner Johnson's room. Our PTO is rocking and rolling. We have increased membership of both parents and staff. Actually, this is my 6th year at Converse. And we've been averaging, I say 10 to 15 at every meeting, which is pretty awesome for a PTO. And we've had a number of successful fundraisers. PBIS, we just completed our Tier 2 training. We implemented Swiss, which collects data for us, and that's been very effective. For 7 out of the 9 months of this school year, we've averaged less than 3 major or minor referrals, or they're called think sheets actually at the primary level, per day. So that's a big reduction from last year. And again, I just want to explain referrals because it sounds like the discipline referrals. We've got minor and we have major think sheets. And it's really an awesome thing because the think sheets help the kids figure out what they've done wrong, what they can do in the future to avoid that, and it's problem solving. And it's been very, very effective. We had a visit from Turtle Creek Elementary School in Delavan to gather information about our PBIS program recently. And we've had a successful increase in our Tier 2 check-in and check-out. Our pending grants are Unsung Heroes, McCarthy Dressman, and of course our Spotlight on School through DPI. Our RTI intervention bands have been very successful once again. We have a 30-minute intervention band in kindergarten, first and second grade, and we do actually move students around, and they do it. We start about a month into the school year, so little kindergartners are actually up and moving from classroom to classroom, and we do them flexibly, or they're based on flexible groups and according to their needs. We have a 45-minute band, however, in third grade because of the age level. Again, students are grouped according to their highest academic need in either math or reading, and they're restructured as needed approximately every 4 to 6 weeks. Awards and recognitions that we've received this year: Renita Gardner received an Ecolab grant. And since my pages are not in order, I want to say it was about $1,500. Kathy Horvath was recipient of Rotary Teacher of the Month, and Valerie Johnson received the Donor Choose grant. Some of our student activities this year have included Art Club, Basketball, Authors Club, Zumba, Student Council, Junior Achievement, UW Extension Nutrition, Nike Nicotine is Kids' Enemy, and our Fresh Fruit and Vegetable grant. So again, just pretty brief. It's hard not to get excited about our school. But a few brief things that we have done this year. Are there any questions?
Sure, questions? I think I was sitting here thinking that the board might need some think sheets at some point in time. So
if you want, we
I
can
don't know
make
if they're
some.
major or minor yet, but we'll figure that out. But that may be something that's important. I do have one question. So I know that you haven't gotten your data back, but can you share just a little bit about kind of academically where you see yourself going, right? Because you have a perspective on the whole year in terms of, are we making progress along the lines where we need to go? Just a little thought.
Absolutely.
Even though you don't have data done yet, I understand.
No, absolutely. And as I had said, just peeking at the preliminary, our growth rate continues to go up, and that's extremely important to me, and that's what I tell the staff I'm looking for. There is no reason for any child to be stagnant. Absolutely none. And none of our kids are. They're all moving. When we worked on the Spotlight School on Grant, actually, though it was many hours of work, it was really beneficial because I have next year mapped out now, and the direction we're going to continue to go into, which are the PLCs, which we have weekly. And we're actually going to extend the time for the Wednesday evenings, but grade levels meet. We're going to do more across grade levels. The academics have been helped a lot. We've done team observations, which was Mr. McNeil's idea last year. We continued those this year, and that really helps the teachers grow because you're so consumed in your own classroom, and you get to go out and you get to see someone teaching a different grade level. And even sometimes within the same grade level, you'll pick up ideas. So we're actually, I think we're picking up speed every year, John, and we're doing better and better every year. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, all right.
I'm feeling very positive.
I was just going to say, I remember your ribbon cutting and seeing all of the students and how excited they were. And I remember one little guy saying, or an older brother saying to his younger brother, gee, I wish they would have done this when I was there. And it seemed like there was a lot of pride and a lot of just, this is our new school. And I wonder if that attitude kind of carried through this year. You've been there 6 years. Did you see a difference in that positive attitude because of all the newness?
Absolutely, Nora. When the kids saw, especially the music room and the art room, they just squealed. They were so excited. And the staff and I'll still walk into those two rooms especially, and just a big grin goes over my face. the learning and the different types of activities that can happen now are incredible. They're absolutely huge. And yes, it's generated a lot of excitement. The kids take a lot of pride in the building. They love the cafeteria, the servery. One child said it's like dining in a fine restaurant.
Cool.
So, yeah. And we have fully implemented, thanks to Janelle, we've been using the trays all year and all the new silverware, and I was a little worried about that, and Janelle said, Stephanie, calm down, it's going to be fine, and she was absolutely correct. The kids use them. We've lost minimal silverware. You know, when you're talking young children, that's a big deal. But they've done a phenomenal job with that, and the building, it's just a joy. The teachers comment on it. It's a joy to go to work. It's a joy to learn in. It's just a wonderful place. So yes, the enthusiasm has not wavered at all.
Super. Steve.
I just want to take a moment and congratulate Stephanie. Stephanie has, over the last few years, really done an outstanding job at Converse. Converse, like she had mentioned, has been 3 years in a row Wisconsin School of Recognition. They really are outpacing the district in the achievements they're doing academically. So I just congratulate their whole staff on what they're doing. Technology-wise, they're certainly one of our leaders at the primary level. So congratulations, Stephanie. Keep doing the good work.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you
Stephanie.
for letting me come and talk about our school.
Next up, we have Dr. Tom Johnson and his crew from the high school. I don't want to say Mo, Curly, and Larry, but there are 3 of them. So,
Who's who?
Thank you very much. This is kind of a couple things tonight. Some thank you slides, some where we've been, where we are, and a little bit about where perhaps we should go next with regards to studying some of our data more in depth. And then, of course, the literacy update that I think we've done now for the past few years at least. And as the board, the sitting board, when I became principal, that was one of the non-negotiables. That was one of the promises. Literacy was going to be at the center of what we do in this high school, and we're going to do it differently than perhaps people have thought of it in high schools before. And in the first few weeks of this, it's not going to feel okay for kids and for maybe teachers, but we're going to do it, and it's going to make a difference. So as I step out of the principalship and hand the keys to Dr. Salzman, I think I want these folks to be able to say this is what we've done, and I know they have big plans for what we need to continue to do in the future. So I just want to make sure. AP. The AP program has grown. You can see we exceed the national average of 58.7% of those scoring 3 or higher. I'm proud of what's been done there. There's still more work that will be done there. 26 total AP courses, and a little bit later I have some slides on some different, some other data points with regards to AP, but here's my first thank you. My first thank you is to the board. 69 new courses added to White Memorial High School's course catalog since 2010-2011. It is so much of a joy to take folks on tours, to show them the course catalog and hear the absolute shock and awe that they just don't see course catalogs quite like this, or AP programs quite like this. So thank you to the board, and also to the department chairs and the teachers who brought those things forward. For whatever reason, people felt initially that maybe the culture wasn't to do these kinds of things, and you as a board said, hey, we'll open the gates as long as it's reasonable, it's academic, and it's going to get results. This is kind of where we are right now. 327 exams were taken by 233 students, representing 13.9% of the population. You can see compared to last year with 264 exams at 12.1%. That number's grown each year. The diversity has grown each year, and I know Dr. Salzman is going to be full-on engaged in a new initiative that's going to further diversify the courses and increase the enrollment in those courses. But when you look at the success rate of students in these classes at a 3 or higher, very good. When you look at the fact that this is a district where we have not emphasized test rates as essentially the only measure, but that getting kids in those classes in and of itself, whether they get a 3 or a 2 or a 1 or a 5, it grows them up and it makes them better. And I think we've started to penetrate this notion that AP is just for these kind of kids. Whatever that means, whatever that definition is, that doesn't nearly exist like it did when I was in high school. This is another thank you. This was a big leap for a lot of people. Initially, it was a big leap for the English faculty. Springboard has been great for our school, great for our district. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. When other people weren't doing it because they were afraid of it, this board said, we will do it. We will put something in place that is highly rigorous, that maybe others haven't done yet, but now they're doing it. If you notice, you look around, especially bigger districts, they're going this route. This year we have a new, essentially they've redone it. So they've updated it. And my experts to my right, Dr. Pam Kiefert, another expert that I go to as a high school curriculum director, and what little I can garner from the compendium of research is it's even way better, way better. And it wasn't bad before. And if you talk to the English faculty, maybe some that were reluctant a few years back, they say, this is good stuff. These folks will tell you they can see the difference, not just from intervention, but from raising the harbor and raising the boats in the harbor by going with this program. This is a very good thing, and again, thank you to the board for that. Graduation rates that came out recently, articles in the paper. I could probably be up here, or Dr. Salzman could be up here for 45 minutes to an hour doing just a presentation on graduation rates. So I didn't include all of the slides because there's a ton of slides. That is an area that I think going forward, it might be time to do a more in-depth analysis of graduation rates, of gaps that we see, gaps that are closing. You see that our four-year rate, as it's been done in the past 4 years, you see it's pretty level. It's been in the low 80s. This year, 81.9% for the 12-13 cohort. It's improved from prior years, but I still think there's ways to go on the four-year rate. That being said, I think people put maybe sometimes too much emphasis on the four-year rate. Because if you think about it, and you think about college, and you think about learning and learners, sometimes you don't get it done in a neat box, per se. But when you look at our five-year rate, so this could be students that just graduated in 4 years in the summer, or 4 years in a semester, or 5 years, 92.3%, which is a slight gain from the previous cohort. That makes me feel better. Obviously, it's not high enough. We want everyone to graduate, but it definitely makes me feel better about our students. 6-year rate, 92%. This is probably a pretty small number of students that actually take that long, but again, when we do a more in-depth analysis, which is actually underway, and Dr. Salzman and I will talk a little bit more about how that should look in the future in a future board presentation. We're seeing some very positive things with our students of color, in large part. We're seeing a gender gap that exists across the country if you look at other schools. So there's areas to say, wow, we're doing pretty good things, and there's areas to say, we need to study that more. Study that more, and I think the graduation rate, again, that's a presentation in and of itself. The dropout rate, 1.24%. The state's at 1.35. That's the lowest dropout rate ever recorded in this district since 1996 when those numbers started going on the DPI website. This is something to be proud of. And we've worked very hard, whether it's credit recovery, whether it's the curriculum, getting those students to stay in school. We'll do anything to do that. But at the same time, this isn't an artificial number. Nobody's cooking the books. That's why we have a 5-year rate and a 6-year rate, because you have to meet certain standards to graduate from high school. So I think this, combined with the graduation data and some of the other things, this sends a really good message to our community that we're working hard and we're doing the right things on behalf of our students. And again, to go on that DPI site, and I've done this a few times just for kicks, makes you really proud to see where we've been and where we are. One of the projects I've been working on, along with Steve and some others, is Visit Beloit's doing a relocation package. And one of the questions that they wanted to know was, tell us about the top 25% of your class in ACT scores. You know, people get caught up in the composite, which is important. And of course, as we know, going forth, it's going to be really important to districts as the new assessment. But it's important to know in a school like Beloit, where our learners come from different places and different experiences and different levels of skill. And what does it look like at the top 25%? And this is what Visit Beloit has asked for. And you can see, I won't read each line for line, but you can see broken down by top 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. You can see that the composite rates, when you look at the national rank, we do pretty good. We hold our own in many respects in here. So this was a positive thing to see as we started to study. And this is a good example of probably what we need to start doing with that graduation rate, studying cohorts and smaller groups and figuring out what's going on. And so this is how we did that for the ACT. Scholarships, these are figures that people say, wow, I had no idea. $4.2 million in 2014. I told Erin Wolf, who's our scholarship coordinator at the beginning of the year, if it doesn't have at least a 4 or high in front of it, don't tell me. She got $4 million, and now it's up to 4.2. And since 2011, $13.7 million has been awarded. And this is awarded and accepted. There's millions of dollars more that our students are offered. Probably our board rep, Mrs. Charles, she's probably had competing offers out there, I would imagine. And so this represents what she and the other seniors of this year were actually accepted. So that's a true number. Now, again, I want to emphasize the literacy part has been huge for the climate of Beloit Memorial, the learning of Beloit Memorial, the course offerings, and these three ladies, Mary Studeman, Deb Brossard, and Lynn Roden, are responsible for all of it. And I want to thank them and invite them to come on up.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, it's kind of hard to read. I first wanted to remind you of the literacy model, the responsive instruction literacy model that you approved in our planning year of 2010-11. You gave us some latitude in some deadlines that were kind of late in coming, but you understood the urgency that we had to put this in place and allowed this to occur. We've grown to 4 courses at our tippy-top tier there, the targeted literacy intervention courses. We've grown to 3 courses in the selected literacy tier, and then that bottom tier is all of our universal English offerings, which includes our Springboard curriculum, as well as AP Literature Language, the Blackhawk transcripted course, and then our aligned English curriculum for those students whom we are still reaching the Common Core standards, but at a level where they are instructionally. Okay. I wish I'd brought my clicker. That one, okay. Alrighty. I'm not going to read each of those bullets. You can read them for yourself there. But be reminded that our students in the targeted tier, when we scoop them up, they fall between that 15th and 24th percentile. And this year alone, we had the 22 sections, first and second semester, and we had 15 staff that covered those 22 sections during the school year. That includes our certified English ESL, and we had content area teachers help us this year for the first time. That targeted literacy tier had been reserved for only English teachers. This year we brought some content teachers aboard, and they got similar results, very, very good results. These are the characteristics of those students in the targeted literacy intervention tier. One of the biggest things is lacking that reading stamina. They need more time and practice at that, and the more they build up their stamina, then they are able to apply that in their classes. And our students in targeted literacy have that often first semester, and then they go into a selected literacy class the second semester. We've been given the charge of trying to get students in and out of intervention within 4 semesters. That was our original goal, and now we've been challenged to get them in and out in 2 semesters. So we'll see what we can do. Our middle school students are coming in stronger, and my colleagues will speak to that in just a little bit. So I think we can meet that challenge of those 2 semesters. Our students in the selected literacy tier are between the 25th and 46th percentile. That's how we scoop them up. And we had 21 sections and 19 staff. Covered all areas of the disciplines at our school.
Those are the characteristics of the students in that tier. And then a couple of you were able to see this slide at Convocation. We are very proud of the difference of our incoming freshman class. Now this is a cohort of 429 students. So this is score for score, student for student, from the fall and the spring. It isn't the entire freshman class because it's a different bunch coming in that end at the end. But these are 429 of the same students. This is a portion of the NWEA reading norms chart from 2011, and the numbers represent a mean RIT score for the beginning, middle, and end of a school year. Those freshmen, the class of 2018, entered in the fall with a mean of 219 and have now grown to the mean of 223. So you can see that the majority of these students will be more than ready for the rigor that lies ahead. We've done this now 2 years in a row, seeing that difference of when they came in and what they look like in the spring of their 9th grade year. With that, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Mary. Your left.
Before I start recording, I just want to reiterate what she just said. So when the freshman class came in this year, the middle of average is right here. They're leaving, and the middle of average is right here. Now you're going to say to yourself, that's 4 points. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
But what happens is when you get to that level with that test, you have to grow a lot to move a point. So that's what that means. Okay? And what Deb just described to you was if you think about the bell curve, and we all have to study the bell curve. The bell curve is the middle of average, right? Right in the middle there. That's this number. So basically what we're going to do for the high school is pick the bell curve up and move it over. So when Dr. Johnson says that you have to raise all votes in the harbor, that's what he means. Pick that thing up and move it. And so we've been able to prove that we've been able to do that. Left, not yet. Okay. In a minute, I'm going to show you the number of students that have actually exited the program for intervention. We're very, very, very proud of this. What this means is that this number of students did not have an opportunity to read at the high school level. And without a literacy program, they would not have had an opportunity. Okay? It means that these students have been measured 2 different ways. They had to prove their high school reading ability on both the qualitative reading inventory and the measure of academic progress. Because, well, look at us. We've all raised kids, and so we don't believe you on one measure. So we made them measure it twice. And we did that because when we do that, we have the greatest level of confidence that these students can earn satisfactory scores on 3 post-secondary options. The COMPASS test for technology schools like Blackhawk, the ASVAB for the military, and the ACT for 2-year or 4-year college entrance. And this is the number. That's a heck of an investment. I look at that and I am in awe of what our staff has done. That's amazing. The other thing is that in that 275, and I always get a little emotional at this slide. I don't know what it is. This slide gets me. But there are kids in that 275 that took AP tests this spring. That's belief. That's a belief system that you helped fund, and we're very grateful for that. Now, how do you get to there? Well, how you get to there is we tell our students when they're behind, they're going to have to run further faster. Now, how do you do that? Well, you do that by accelerating your growth. So how well did we do? This year, we've been able to say that 56% of our students in targeted literacy grew 1 year in 4 months' time. That's down from the previous 2 years that we had about 75%. Okay, so now we're getting kids that are a little bit further behind or a little bit struggle harder. Okay? 70% of the students grew 1 year in 4 months' time that were in the selected group. Now, we weren't real satisfied with that first number. It didn't look good enough to us. So what we did was we said, what happens when you put multiple semesters together? When we started, you heard we had 4 semesters, and now we've got 2. So what does happen when you put 2 semesters together? And you get something called significantly accelerated growth. Two years in 8 months, we call that a good bang for your buck. So the goal is to look at our students and say, can we work with you by adding value to your program and help you run further faster? And the answer is absolutely yes. The other thing that we're very proud of with this number is that there is no gap with race or gender in these numbers. We have a program that we believe has gone beyond any of our original expectations. Okay? Am I going to move ahead? We've had representatives, 3 different state representatives visit us. We've had 30 school districts and business groups come to us during the past 3 years. 30. When we started this, Tom said the buses would roll up. I didn't realize that the airlines were going to roll up. We've had people from as far away as Utah and West Las Vegas, Nevada. I love saying that. And as close as Whitefish Bay and Beloit Turner. And all of those school districts have used our program as a model for theirs. The business groups are most excited that we have chosen to use college and career readiness as our focus. And we believe that's the right focus too. The 70 faculty members, I have to talk about that for a minute. They represent 140 sections of literacy at the high school. We've been busy at that high school, 140 sections. Our staff has been willing to do whatever it took. My favorite thing about that number 70 is that it includes a lot of staff from multiple disciplines, even the orchestra teacher. So when they go back to their disciplines, they take this literacy knowledge with them. And that's a great professional development program. This is my last slide. And I want to say that this was our vision. And it comes to us from the National Secondary Association of Principals. And I'm going to tell you that we have accomplished our vision. Now, what's the next step? Because there's always a next step. And Lynn's going to tell you about that. I'm going to click you back, Lynn. I really clicked back.
11.
I want 11. No, try 15. Middle school. Mm-hmm. Got it.
There it is.
Thanks.
So where do we go next? Mary talked to you about the students who are coming in, that some of the students coming in are a little tougher to work with. So we're moving our focus to the middle school, and we started that this past year. And I'm one of the people that's also assigned at the middle school, and that's why they asked me to talk about this. The tiers are the same, and again, it's kind of hard to read, but Tier 3 is targeted literacy at the top, selected literacy in the middle, and then the universal is at the bottom. It has the 2 parts, the one that Dr. Johnson talked about, the Springboard program, which we use in grades 6, 7, and 8. Very rigorous program for middle schoolers. If it's tough for high schoolers, you can well imagine what it's like for middle schoolers. And the aligned curriculum for those students who aren't quite ready for Springboard. That's a low number of students, but some of them are ELL students, some of them are special education students, some of them are both ELL and special education students, and some of them are regular ed students. The regular ed students typically work their way out of that and back to Springboard more quickly than the others. In this program at the middle school this year, we had 586 students enrolled in the targeted tier and the selected tier, combining both middle schools. Think about that, 586 students were receiving intervention. Okay, 360 or 61% of those grew more than a year in the year that they were in intervention. 61%. And of those 360, 73% of those had more than a year and a half's growth in that first year of intervention. So we've been working with them. We started the year before last, just getting kids in. We worked very hard with them this year. That's the kind of growth that we're seeing with those students. So we really feel like we're making great inroads there too, and we're ready for the 4th and 5th graders to come on board. Thank you, everyone.
This time, if there's any questions for the four of us, we'd be happy to answer them.
Questions? Oh, sure, everybody's got. Shannon, then John, please.
Thank you. First, I want to say thank you to all of you for presenting. And it's not only impressive, but it's exciting. It's where we've come from, where we're going. One question I had for you, Dr. Johnson, is on the slide for our dropout rate. Can you tell me, do expulsions count against us in that number, or are those held in abeyance and not included in that number?
So I would, I don't want to misspeak here, but I would definitely say that an expulsion until, age 21, which is rare in this district, that would hurt us. It wouldn't help us in this situation.
So that we are held accountable as a district when reporting the numbers to DPI. If we're not educating a student for reasons of which the board has expelled a student, it would show up in our dropout rate.
It could, although I will say this district has done a very good job with reentry programs and those type of commitments. So I think that it could, but we've done a good job.
I think we're doing an outstanding job. I think it's just also something that we need to be aware of, that there are some factors that as an administrative team that the board has to be accountable for and own some of those numbers as well. So thank you very much. Thank you everybody for presenting. So refreshing and exciting to hear.
When this idea of literacy first came to the curriculum committee, I, as chair of the committee, wanted to be supportive and all that, but in my heart of hearts, I really believed that you had to get them young. You had to start with the little kids and get them on the right track academically and grow them up in the system, and sooner or later they would get to high school, and then the high school would get better too, and that might happen in my lifetime, and that would be all good. And so the idea of doing interventions in the high school, making a real difference in the high school, of the fact that it wasn't too late, the fact that high school kids were capable of this kind of growth, was something, frankly, I had to be convinced of. And so needless to say, you guys have, I think exceeded expectations is too mild. I think you've blown the doors off of expectations. And I think it's been wonderful, and I think it's exciting. And I think it's yet another thing that we can and should be talking a lot about in terms of just some of the great things that are going on in our school district. So thank you.
Nora?
When you were talking about the 275 students, that's just utterly amazing when you think that that's their road to success, for future success, their whole future. And I want to thank you all for your creative thinking. And I was on that committee with John, and when you presented it, I shared some of the same feelings that John just expressed. So thank you for your hard work.
Tom, I want to say thank you, and to the team, thank you, and to your whole team, right? So it goes to the whole group at the high school, and there's so many people that go into that to make it work. And it goes to the relationships you have with students and the relationships you have with their parents and guardians, because that also has to work, right? That also has to, if they're not reading at home, they're not going to read in school. So you have to, we all have to kind of do our inroads. So I appreciate that a lot. I'm intrigued. I'm happy to hear that you're working with Visit Beloit, I think is what you said, right?
Correct.
So I know that that's a question that I often get, is kind of how do new people to Beloit learn about Beloit School District, and where does that come from? And so the more we can do to influence that, Melissa does an awesome job, but I think the more we can do to share our good story, the better it's going to be to make that happen. I do have one question. So I think about the students who don't graduate, right? So we had 82% in 4, 92% in 6-ish. Where do they go? Do we know where it's not a big group, but do we know what happens to them, or are they just kind of, because they used to just disappear into Chicago and you never knew, but I don't know, maybe there's a new answer to that question.
Sure, I can give kind of a two-part answer. First of all, Steve and I have been talking this year, and now Dr. Salzman's involved with actually looking at contracting with an outside company to actually go out and do some of the digging, because it's really hard, to be quite honest, to definitively say. I mean, I think we look across some trends across the country. We know that there are some students that are moving into the basement and staying in the basement until they're 26, 28 years old these days, and some of that's a function of recent economical issues, but in large part it is hard. People do tend to drop off the face of the earth. We do know that for many students it does take some time. Whether they go back to school, they typically end up in some type of training, but that can be a 2 or 4 or even 6 year or longer gap where they're really kind of just living in the basement, so to speak. But to explore that a little bit more, and that's kind of a reoccurring theme, let's dig a little deeper in some of these things. We're looking to engage with an outside company for a nominal fee, quite honestly, for what they do. So that's kind of where we're at with that.
I think maybe you can add to it. I think for me, the other piece is to look at what the Beloit Learning Academy, right, has brought graduates, have kept people in the district. Am I on the right one? Yes.
Yeah.
Have kept students in the district to graduate, right, when they probably would have fallen out in the other number.
Yeah.
And I think we watch those graduations happen often through the stage, but also sometimes in the summer and at all different kinds of times. And so that piece of the puzzle, and I know that the high school works with them, and I mean, there's this connection there. So I don't know if you can add to that at all, but I think people don't understand the other piece of that puzzle.
Yeah, these ladies have a partner who's not here tonight. Her name is Carrie Champney Johnson. She works part-time at the high school and part-time with Beloit Learning Academy. And we have tried to do things in sync and say, you know, the same kind of curriculum, it's a different environment, it's a smaller environment. The school day may be modified for some students, and I can't give you the exact figure off the top of my head, but I do know that I heard the figure of graduates from BLA that will be joining us on June 7th, and it was an impressive number. It was an impressive number to the point where I had to step back and say, wow, that exceeded my expectations. So I think there's more work to be done with alternative programming in our district, but we've come a long way. And not all of our students can have it the same way. So, yep.
Good. Thank you. Anything? Okay. Thank you so much. Congratulations. With that, we will move on to reports to the board. Student board member report. Holy cow.
Last one.
Could be the last one, although you never know what she might show up in front of us, so.
Okay, so for some reason last Friday every senior was sick. I don't know why. We were just something hit us. No one was at school. I don't know. Something happened. And then also we had our girls soccer team last week made history, and they beat a Madison team for the first time since the 80s, I want to say. They've never, I guess the Madison girls soccer teams are really good, so we've never beaten them, and last week we did that. The night choir concert was fantastic. I heard that most people in attendance were crying at some point throughout the concert, so I just want to thank the board for passing that course and for allowing Mr. Truby to start it, because I've never seen so many kids become so emotional, like kids that I invited to the concert, kids that I never would think would become emotional. And I just think it's great. It's not only great for the special education students, but I know it's great for us who are in the choir. I think it's great for us. If you talk to any of us, we'll tell you that we're growing with those kids. So it's fantastic. We have a choir concert this Friday at 7 p.m. at First Congregational Church. It's just our top choir at the high school. Mr. Truby thought it would be a good idea to give us one last concert for, all the hard work we've put in this year. Our theater program was just awarded 13 Tommy Awards. We were awarded more awards than any school in the Tommies. So, and the Tommies are the Wisconsin State Theater Awards, and to qualify for the awards ceremony, you have to live within 80 miles of Madison. So, there's well over 20 schools in that competition, and we were awarded more awards than any other school. So I think that's a big accomplishment. We've never received that before, and many of our students individually were awarded. I think that's about it. We graduate June 7th, and I think I speak for all the seniors when I say that I can't believe we're graduating. I know it sounds really, it sounds really cliche, but I guess time really does fly by. But I'm glad that we had the Beloit Memorial High School report today as my last meeting. I would just like to say, if any teacher is watching this from Beloit Memorial High School and you had me as a student, you really shaped me. You really changed my life. I think the staff at Beloit Memorial High School is exceptional, and I'm not one to throw around compliments, so I wouldn't just say this. I mean, as a freshman going in, I was too immature to care about the staff or what high school would bring me or any of that stuff. I just cared about drama. But I meant girl drama, not theater drama. But as a senior, I think a lot of us begin to realize those teachers that, and there's countless number of teachers, and it might sound like they shouldn't be doing this, but if a student is upset, they will take them out of the classroom and talk to them and ask them what is going on, and they'll keep them after class and talk to them and make sure that they're all right. And there are so many teachers at BMHS that have done that for me and my friends. They don't only teach you their topic, they teach you about life, and they teach you about relationships and their relationship with you. I mean, they really build a relationship with a student. And I don't know, you lose a lot of friends when you're in high school, but the teachers, I think I will remember those teachers for the rest of my life because they're just fantastic. So, I mean, whatever teacher I've had, not even just at the high school, I remember my kindergarten teachers still. So if you're watching this and you've had me as a student, I'd just like to thank you, and I'm sure Jesse would agree with me. He didn't go through the public school system until 9th grade, but I know he has loved his experience at Beloit Memorial, and he's grown. I've known him since he was about 10, so he's grown too. And I really think that the teachers in our school deserve more than just Teachers Appreciation Week, like every other teacher in the country gets, because our teachers are beyond exceptional. So thank you.
Good, thank you. Great words to be at a board meeting for, right? Hope we're all listening out there in the world of listening land. And Rebecca, at least Rebecca, I know, is planning for 74 and sunny. And we'll work our way from there. Thank you. Next up on the agenda is Finance and Transportation, and I believe Michael is going to wade his way through this one. Thank you.
So we met, and it was a good meeting. And then there was an adjournment. Here we are. Questions on that? No, we spent a great deal of time in committee this month discussing insurance and kind of taking a period of time looking over all the changes that we've made over the last several years. Obviously, contributions from employees has helped offset quite a bit of cost, but we also made quite a few changes over the last few years with stop-loss renewals, TPA changes, PPO network changes, TPA dental changes, vision, dental offerings, the move to a closed pharmacy network, lower rates for life and disability insurance, all these things that have saved us and our employees lots of money. Most recently in the meeting, we discussed an RFP that we sent out for basic life, supplemental life, short-term and long-term disability coverage. We'll be recommending to the full board to use our incumbent carrier for that. We're looking at a savings of nearly $45,000 over current contract rates that are offered. So more of that coming to us. Few POs over $25,000 that will be coming for to continue on with our iPad initiative purchasing. We also took some time to look at at tax incremental financing, often just referred to as TIF. Mr. Winkleman knows quite a bit more about TIF and keeping an eye on TIF and what that means for us, but we just kind of looked at the what we had out there and just kind of thought about when those things roll off, what that means to us. We also made some changes in parochial school ridership, where instead of transporting these students, we're doing parent contracts, so we're reimbursing parents that take their students to parochial schools instead of busing them ourselves. So that's a change that will be coming to us, and then we had some standard budget adjustments.
Thank you, Michael. Questions? If not, moving on. Curriculum. Mr. Aiken.
Okay, first of all, just to add on to something Rebecca said, that final choir concert is this coming Friday evening at 7 o'clock at First Congregational Church, and it's free. So I urge everybody to consider going. Now, free is good. The curriculum committee met on May 13th, and we had a couple of things that we did. First of all, appointed Missy Henderson as vice chair of the committee, and also named Missy Henderson as the Board of Education representative to the Equality Committee. We heard a little bit about grants and grant applications, and we're getting ready for a new school year and a new round of grants. A couple things that were done that were major that are moving forward for action tonight later on. First of all, kindergarten through second grade, new phonics lesson purchase. And as a parent who had kids who were in that era when phonics was sort of out of favor and they were talking about whole word recognition and other incomprehensible things, I was never happy with that, and I'm so glad to see that phonics is back and to see that the kind of job that we're doing. And again, this is the underpinning for all the literacy things that are happening in the school district, what we're doing with kindergartners through second grade. And so we have that update. And then also something we've been talking about for a couple of years now, at least, and maybe more, is financial literacy. Financial literacy is seen by everyone as being increasingly important, possibly because it seems like young people today really are in need of understanding financial literacy. And so we're putting financial literacy into the curriculum as a graduation requirement. And we are putting that in place of the computer science. And the reason for that is because computer science and aspects of computers are now in all the courses we teach. And again, that's starting very young. We heard Stephanie talk tonight about, apparently we have a storm coming. We heard Stephanie talk tonight about how the iPad initiative is working so well with the smallest kids at Converse, and that's true district-wide. And so that's very interesting as well. So anyway, that is our curriculum report. We're moving on the last two items tonight, and that's the report, unless there are any questions.
Thank you, John. Questions? If not, Nora, please, for policy.
The Policy Committee met on April 22nd to approve personnel recommendations, and then we also moved forward a policy on naming of schools and other buildings in order that our ad hoc marketing committee could look at ways of naming those rooms and perhaps generating some money. So we talked about moving that policy forward on April 22nd. Then we met again on May 13th, and on May 13th we nominated Mark Rand to serve as our vice chair of the Policy and Personnel Committee, and he was also appointed as labor liaison, and Missy Henderson was appointed as the legislative liaison. Some of the policies, well, I guess all of the policies that we talked about on May 13th are coming to us tonight. Some of them have to do with revisions or deletions, and generally speaking, those policies have to do with staff and support staff. And it's just updating some obsolete language to match our employee handbook. Then we have some first reading policies, mainly in the 600 series, that have to do with budget and financing and leasing of schools. And then in our second reading policies that we'll be looking at tonight to approve, mainly come from the 400 series that have to do with our buses, bus rider rules and use of video cameras on the bus. And then we have one anti-bullying policy that will be the second reading as well. So we then talked about what we're going to do in the future, and one of the suggestions were to just continue moving forward on those updating of policies, and then also to maybe create a policy for taking iPads home for next year, and looking at policies that we would need to have updated before the beginning of the new school year. So that concludes what we discussed in our meetings on May 13th. Are there any questions?
Questions? Thank you, Nora. If not, we are at the consent list. All items marked with an asterisk would be enacted in one motion. Is there such a motion?
I move approval.
Second. Second. John has a question.
Yeah. It looks like you've got the 60 Fund Student Activity Group included in the
I do.
on the consent list. And I just wanted to take a small moment to comment about that, if I could.
Why don't we
That'd
just
be in
remove
order.
it and then come back to it?
We can do that.
Okay, so John wants it removed. That's good. So we'll do all of consent list except for item D. All set? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Then following that, we'll go to grant from WCAC Project Possible.
Move approval.
Second.
Question, Nora?
I have to get to that page. I'm looking on page 57, and I just had a couple of questions. I understand the reasoning for the reason why the grant was written, and I really like the reasoning for why it was written. I like the way it was written. But then on page 58, it looks like the request, let's see, the reason why it was written is, who wrote that? Mrs. Wolf. She wanted to have some assistance in helping students who needed assistance with their college applications. And then it appears to me that what was awarded was notebooks, backpacks, pencil cases, and it didn't really seem to go in with what she requested. Am I reading that wrong? Or?
Yes, you are.
And I'm just curious.
Through you guys, right? Question, can anybody, Steve, can you speak to that? If not, we can hold it.
Well, my assumption was that in trying to help students through this process is about getting them prepared, not only just from applying, but getting them ready to go. So, you know, as they're filling out their FAFSAs and as they're getting accepted, I thought the idea was to help them with, you know, some of the things that they needed.
Tom may add some thoughts to these questions.
Part of this process, this is kind of like not a choice with them, actually. I was talking with Erin about this a couple weeks ago, and she informed me that we're getting all this stuff too. And she says it's part of the deal. You have to go and get it and fill your car up with it, but you have to basically take it, which it's free stuff, it's good for kids, but it's just part of it. It wasn't necessarily Erin's intent to go out and request erasers and backpacks. It's part of the deal.
Part of the reason why I was bringing it up, I was reading through her grant request, and her request, I believe, was for a substitute or a retired teacher to help with filling out these applications, and I don't see anything over here as to payment for that. And I just thought it was kind of odd, that's all. But certainly we can use these items. I just thought it was a mismatch for what she requested and what we were given, and I was wondering why.
It was definitely a positive surprise, but a surprise that that was part of how they do business. So.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? Do we have a motion on this? Not yet. Do I hear a motion?
It was moved and seconded.
Moved and seconded is good? Okay, good. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Employee Life Disability RFP.
Move approval, awarded to National Insurance Services with an underwriter of Madison National Life for Kitchen for a 3-year period.
Okay.
Second.
Savings of over $69,000, special note.
Questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. John, we're at your 60 fund group. You want to make a motion and then talk?
Sure. I move that we approve the Dark Nights as an approved student activity.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. The Dark Nights didn't start until March, so they're really just organizing now and getting going. But this is a group that is interested in astronomy. They are doing star observation. They're raising money to learn more about this and eventually to take field trips and do all kinds of things having to do with astronomy. And I wanted to call attention to it simply because this is just the latest of a very rich smorgasbord of activities that are available to our students. And I think one of the things that we tend to overlook sometimes is the fact that we've got some great student activities, particularly in our high school. And you saw an example earlier with the yearbook. This is another example. There are many, many more. And that's just one more reason why we're proud of Beloit Memorial High School.
Thank you, John. Anything else? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
After that, we have purchase orders over $25,000.
Move approval of PO for purchase of iPads, amount of $99,750, as well as purchase materials for STEM program for Gaston from Lego, and the amount of $26,056.16.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Budget adjustments, please.
Move approval.
Second.
Questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. K-12, K2 phonics lessons purchase. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Computer credit requirement change. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
John talked about this a little bit beforehand. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so then we have some revisions to and deletions of board policies for first reading. Is there a motion?
Move approval of all policies for deletion, first reading. 542.2, support staff compensation. 548, Rule 1, responsibilities related to evaluations. 556, administrative support staff compensation. And 556.1, administrative support staff holiday.
Questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Policy, item J, or JK, L, M, and N, if we wish to do that as first readings.
Move approval of policy 622, policy 622 Rule 1s, policy 630, and policy 655.1 for first reading.
Well, 741 too.
And 741.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second, and these would be policies regarding budget reports and hearings, public notification of the budget, school indebtedness, leasing of school sites, maintenance and control of instructional materials. Questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Set policies for second reading. Item O. These are the bus policies we've been talking about. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll move approval of the policy 443.2, 443.2 Rule 1, 443.2 Rule 2, 443.2 Rule 3.
Okay, is there a second? Second. Anybody? We've talked about these extensively. So behaviors on the bus still count, and they're still part of the student handbook, right? So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item S, 443.72, anti-bullying. Just a reminder, this is not a new policy, this is a revision. We've had an anti-bullying policy for a while.
Move approval.
Second. Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 522.31, supervisory nepotism.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Policy 710, support services goals.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Policy 752, transportation to extracurricular activities.
Move approval.
Second.
Second, this is, I think, opening the door a little bit to allow some others to go along on buses and help with chaperoning, and also allow some people to fill up some buses that we may be taking to events. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Policy 760, Rule 2, nutritional guidelines.
Second.
This brings us into accordance with new legislation, some of which we appreciate, some of which we may not. So, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Oh, it's so tempting. Policy 770, office services management.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Personnel recommendations, I think we had that before policy committee tonight, right? So that should have been,
Move approval as presented.
Second.
okay, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Discussion items of interest in future meetings. Nora, please.
I'm wondering if, before school starts again, if we could just look at our iPad in review and number of issued, number lost, common uses. And we heard testimony from Ms. Jacobs tonight, how it's working so well in Converse School. But I'm just kind of looking for a year-end summary.
Yep.
And then also, if we could have a review of our safety policy. I think we're supposed to review that annually, and I'm not sure what
Okay,
month.
we'll pull that up. Anybody else? Michael, please.
I was talking to our superintendent the other day, and we were talking about where in year 5 of our 5-year strategic plan.
Right.
So at some point over the summer, it would be great to kind of get a recap and tell everybody how well we did.
Okie doke.
And I bring that forward because I'm excited because I feel like we did really well with our plan.
We've done lots of good stuff. Right. Anybody else? I think that helps us keep our plate full. We'll keep moving on that. Future board meetings, committee meetings on June 10th, finance, curriculum, and policy. The next business meeting is on June 24th. And with that, we will have a good evening, a happy graduation. Think 74 and sunny. Thank you.